setting new standards in podcast excellence. You have joined the WBT, fully focused on business and taxes. Here is your host, Michael Lodge.
And welcome to a new day. This is Michael Lodge. Brand new day. Something to do, something positive, something great. What is our conversation going to be about this morning? Well, it's going to be about the media and how they've covered this virus. It's an important discussion to have because I think we have to understand exactly what's going on. I'll be right back.
This is brought to you by Lodge & Co., a business and tax advisory firm where your success is our goal. Call us today toll-free at 888-681-1518 or visit us at www.lodge-co.com and learn more about what we can do for you. Lodge & Co., your source for sound business and tax services.
So we've seen a lot of reporting almost around the world because we all have international sources on our news cycle every single day. And I've given this lecture before. Hey, listen, if you're spending more than 30 minutes on the news every single day, you're wasting your time because what's going to happen is you're going to get caught up in their spin. And then pretty soon you're going to be repeating their spin, and basically the spin is a whole bunch of nonsense. Go to the right sources, like on the virus, go to the CDC site. Follow it every day because they follow it worldwide and they also follow it state by state and then as a nation. But what we've seen is, for some reason, the media thinks that since the virus originated in China, came to the United States, no one can say it's a Chinese flu. Or can they say it's a China flu? When, in fact, that's where it originated. So why don't we just be honest with ourselves that it's a Chinese flu? It's come there. We have another flu that's out there too, that's just popping up, that again originates in China. When I was a young kid, I got the Chinese flu. And I was in bed for 2 whole weeks. The whole family was in bed for 2 whole weeks. I remember it so clearly because I sat there and we watched Days of Our Lives. And we watched all this nonsense shows for 2 straight weeks. And by the end of the 2 weeks, we were up and about. But it was called the Chinese flu. But at that time, in the 1960s and 70s, no one said it was a discrimination or it was racist because you called it the Chinese flu. So the media wants to say, okay, well, you can't call it the Chinese flu. No, that's racism. It's not racism. It's calling the truth out, and that's where it came from. And that's the problem a lot of times, is that the media sits there and they like to spin this. The media wants to see doom and gloom for the United States. They want to see our economy go to hell in a handbasket. They want to see the president fail. They want to see Americans fail. Because that has been their agenda for 4 years now. That's all that they've wanted. That's all that they've wished for. That's all that they dreamed of, was for America to fail under the Trump administration. That's what they wanted. And so they push their own agenda every single day about this virus. And in fact, at some points in time, they even report the wrong numbers. A good example of a bad report was that individual who swallowed that chemical that was the wrong chemical. It was fish food, but he thought it would heal him. But he died from it, and his wife went to the hospital because of it, because it was the wrong stuff. And so what they do, they blamed it on President Trump because he had talked about a similar name, but for medical purposes, to help this virus and to help to cure the virus. So automatically, the media began to blame Donald Trump. They went after him for that. Even here in Palm Beach, the local newspaper printed that story, and I had to go to them and said, no, that's wrong. You're lying to the public when you publish nonsense like this. You did not tell the story, and they refused to take that story down, even though it was a bad story and it was badly reported. They never told the public within the story, hey, we're sorry, we badly reported it. It was that they took this medicine that wasn't even medicine, it was for fish tanks. But they refused to tell the true story on that because they wanted to blame President Trump on that. To this day, it's still out there on their site with the same story. I saw another one on Facebook last night from another source. So we have media out there wanting to destroy this president, and they are gleefully jumping up and down anytime they see a number change or there's more deaths or what. They want this. They love this because they want to take this president down. I'm not going to. This has nothing to do with about liking Trump or not liking Trump. This has to do with a media out to get Trump. And it's been that way for 4 years now. Day in and day out. Day in and day out. So they've decided not to report the real news, but instead they have decided to take a virus and build it up into such greatness, not greatness, but into such doom and gloom that politicians begin to believe it. And then they have to respond to it because their constituents are responding to what they see on the news. This is a nonsense way of doing it. And so what happens is that government officials overreact. Instead of looking, okay, how are we going to address this within our communities? How are we going to get this done? How can we make the constituents and the citizens feel more safe? Instead, the government and the media blow it up. They make it into worse than what it really should be. And they fail to tell you, yeah, we have infected people, but a lot of them not even in hospitals. Only the individuals that have healthcare problems, a history of healthcare problems that affect the lungs and immune systems, they're the ones that are really getting hit on this. But the media decides, no, we're not going to tell the real story. We're going to make it into a bigger story and say it's doom and gloom and it's all the president's fault. And then what happens? The Congress gets involved and the Senate gets involved, and pretty soon we're spending trillions of dollars. When all that we need to do is put a program in place, make sure that everyone is following the same CDC directives, make sure that every business has a plan inside it to address virus issues within their own companies, and fight the virus. And spend a lot of time finding a cure for that virus. But instead, what happens is that the media becomes so enthralled about doom and gloom because they love it. They want to see it. It makes them happy. And they go spin and spin and spin. And pretty soon, you guys out there are spinning the same nonsense. We see numbers all over the place. I look at what people are reporting, and it's not good data. And that's the other issue that I want to get into here, is that a lot of this data that's being thrown out there is not good data. If you don't have good data going in, you're going to have bad data coming out. And then in the majority of our states, in the majority of our federal government offices, we have bad data. I'll give you a good example. I have an associate who does programming for healthcare. And she was in the state of Vermont. And the CDC and the state of Vermont were working together to put together a program so that they could accurately report numbers on healthcare. However, the problem is that in Vermont, the system was so old and you had people within there that did not want to work with each other. And every time they brought in people that knew what they were doing, degreed programmers, people who have been there for years and years and knew what they were doing, the state of Vermont, little clique inside Vermont, didn't want to work with the real programmers. So they tried and tried to get all of these real programmers dismissed because the state of Vermont's healthcare system programs were so wacky and so out of date and so old that they could not really digest the numbers. They could not correctly report the numbers. And I hate to tell you this, but this is happening in a lot of these states where it's very difficult to fight the internal politics of a state-run organization that's monitoring healthcare data. So we have that problem. So if you have bad data going in, you're going to have bad data coming out. So we have to take these numbers that are being generated and given us, take them into consideration, but we don't know if they are over-reporting or under-reporting, or if the data is mixed from other viruses. That is the question that we should be asking the CDC and all of the states. Is your data clean? And I'm afraid that what you're going to find out is that it's not very good data, based upon my discussions with people in the industry. But then we have the media that takes this data and then they screw the data and they turn it around and then they try to spin it with the whole purpose of spreading this doom and gloom type information to the American people and to the world. And we can't go on like this. A virus is one of those things that can be beaten, but it's got to be a focused attack by everybody. That's why I've been, over the last several days, almost a whole week now, I've been telling businesses, we need to get up and running as businesses, but we need to have an action plan for our businesses. And one of them is to create a virus healthcare directive that lays out protocols on how you're going to handle this virus situation. Because listen, this isn't the only virus that's going to be thrown at us. There are more coming down the road, I'm sure of it. We have more viruses every single year that pop up apart from the normal flu. But I'm really, really concerned is that we have all of these deaths by flu in big time numbers, but you don't see anybody worried about that. The media completely ignores that because they know that this is a hot piece. This is the new gold standard of bad reporting and hyperventilating the American people on this COVID-19. The media is responsible for the panic that you have seen, because they constantly report it day after day after day after day. If you go onto Facebook, everybody's talking about this COVID. Everybody talk. If you look at Twitter, all the news agencies are coming out constantly. Every few seconds there's another thing coming out, and some of it's repeat. And it's doing really nothing to make the American people feel safer. What I see the president doing in his press conference, that makes me feel safer because I know that the government is attacking it. And that's what we want to see. And so if the president is attacking it, trying to get rid of that virus, the American people should be doing the same thing, and the media needs to shut up. Because what they're doing is they're causing more of a problem than what we need as a nation. The media loves this. They thrive on it. And they don't tell you all of the truths. And the stories that they do tell you are spun so badly that it's even far from the truth. We have got to do better as listeners. Because if we don't, we're just going to be listening to this nonsense and feeling like we need to hide in our houses, and we should not be hiding. We should be out there fighting this thing. We need to hold the media responsible for how they report. We need to hold them responsible for the panic that they have created. Because they love the panic that they have created. They know that you're going to tune back in to hear more panic, more doom and gloom. And there are people who literally sit in the houses and they have nothing to do. They're older generation individuals that are sitting in their house listening to this doom and gloom and panic. Sitting there, what's going to happen to me? That is irresponsible of the media. To put Americans in that situation and to put countrymen into that situation. So we have got to do better at what we choose as data to come to us, as information to come to us. We need to do better. And I think that we have to go to the sources and not through the media, because the media takes the data, and that data then becomes a complete jumbled up mess of nonsense that creates hype and panic and does nothing for the country. We don't know anything more. Well, that's my views on the media at the moment. I think that they have done an irresponsible job in reporting a virus. And what are they going to do to the next one and the next one? And who are they going to place the blame? We can sit there and listen to them all day long placing blames. And all of the people, the commentaries and the analysts who are coming on, giving their own thoughts and views of nonsense. Because they know that that's what the network wants to hear. So they feed the fire. They keep putting more wood on the fire. And pretty soon it's ablaze, and pretty soon we're in panic because we're afraid everything's going to be burnt down because of the media fire builders that do an irresponsible job. When you create panic, that's not responsible. When you get a nation scared, they don't know what's going to happen. Because the media is sitting there with a fan on a fire trying to make it bigger and bigger and bigger. We have got to do better as human beings in choosing the information that's being thrown at us. Just because you think the world is coming to an end doesn't mean that you have to choose that decision based only by what the media is telling you. You've got to be more responsible for yourselves and go straight to a data source that you think that you can trust. The media is no longer trustworthy. They have shown it through all the reporting for the last 4 years, last 8 years, last 16 years. The media has become worse, where you can't trust basically anything that they say. Remember, the media was originally set up to keep people in check. Ask the right questions. Report the right news, the correct news. It was never set up to allow reporters to give commentary of what they feel. is going on. Instead, they were supposed to just report the news. The who, the what, the where, the when. Not what if, the possibility of, I'm assuming this. We can look at the numbers and see this. The politics of today is what I'm going to generate through my own personal opinion as a reporter. That's not what the objective of being a reporter was supposed to be. You were supposed to just ask the questions and report. Not give you a commentary and not give you analysis. And this is where it's all gone crazy, because you've got on CNN, you've got on Fox News, you've got on MSNBC, you've got on all of these news stations where they bring in all these people to give commentary, and most of it, 99% of it, is all wrong. Because it's led by whatever that agenda is by that media outlet. That's the question that you have to ask yourself. What is the political agenda of that media outlet? And then decide whether or not, if you feel that that information that they're giving you is biased. And that is the problem. The news cycle is a biased news cycle. It is not an accurate news cycle. Wasn't supposed to be that way. If you go, in my book, Ethically Thinking, it's not that hard. I go over the Association of Reporters bylaws. And it specifically says in there that they are not supposed to give their own opinion. They are only supposed to report it. But none of them nowadays are doing that. That is the biggest issue that we have, is that personal opinion is now considered news, and that's not news. The who, what, where, and when of the questions that were supposed to be reported is now, this is what I think as a reporter, because this is what my political opinion is, and this is who I hate. So what I say goes. What I say is news, and that is not reporting. If you find a reporter that says he's a reporter but is not reporting, but just giving an analysis or an assumption, or it's not news. Tell me the news. Tell me what happened. Tell me the timeline. But do not give me your analysis, and do not give me what you view it as, because I don't trust your political agenda, and I don't trust the way that you report anymore. That is the problem. We no longer have news. So the media has taken their newfound power of analysis and agenda, political agenda, and they have pushed it on us every single day. And there's very few people that call them out on it. I call them out on it. When I see it, I call them out on it. And I'm not very nice when I call them out. When I find that they're spinning a lie, I call them out on it, and I'm not nice about it, because what they're doing is causing more danger to the United States or to the reader. We need to do better. Listen, if you have any comments, questions, send me a text at 818-252-5682, 818-252-5682. I'll be more than happy to talk with you. More than happy to answer your questions. Now, by the way, if you are a foreign worker, overseas foreign worker, in other words, if you're like from the Philippines or from some other country, and you're working in the countries like Dubai and Abu Dhabi and in the Middle East, if you're an overseas worker, most of you are there alone. You are there alone. You're away from your families. You're nervous about what's happening. You are under lockdown at the moment, because I know that you are. I've talked to so many of you. Yesterday I talked to a group of nurses in Dubai, and they were literally scared about how the management of the hospital was responding to a patient that had been found positive with COVID-19. And we had to talk it through. We had to set some protocols, and we had to set some rules of how, when they leave the hospital, because the majority of them were in hospital housing. I think there was like 20 units with 4 people in the housing unit. When you leave that hospital and you go to your living quarters, what is a protocol before entering that living space and making sure that you do not have the virus on you when you go in? There has to be new protocols thinking about all this. Yes, you leave the hospital and you've got protocols in the hospital, but when you go to your living space and you're with everybody else that works at that hospital, you have to have protocol to keep your living space clean from whatever you might have brought over from the hospital. That should be a standard process. When you've got 4 individuals that are working in the hospital, living in the same apartment, and it's usually 4 to an apartment, you need to have protocols, which means that when you enter into the facility, at the door, you take off your clothes. Immediately, you take those clothes to the washing machine and you wash them. You then go in and take your shower, and then you begin to disinfect the doorknob and everything else within, and then you're done. And making sure that if you need to wear a mask, whatever you need to do. But if you are living with each other, you have to have protocols in place now during the time that we have this virus. But it should be the same thing, because it should be the same protocol even though we don't have this virus. If you're working in a hospital and you're living together like that, you need to have protocol of what happens within your living space so that your own personal health is not jeopardized. So we talked about that yesterday. So then I said to myself, excuse me, I think there's probably others who are overseas foreign workers who need to talk to somebody because they're scared. So I set up a new system, and so that people could talk to me on Zoom, and we could discuss what was going on. We could talk about how we can help them even more, and how we can also, so that we could also help them feel comfortable. Feel that they have somebody to talk to. A lot of them go over to these foreign countries and they have no friends. They make friends along the way, but they're not real friends. They can't talk to their family because they don't want their families to understand what's going on and scare the family, so they have to keep it to themselves. So I said, you know what? I will open up my microphone in Zoom and so that these people can talk. And so we had our first discussion yesterday. So I offer the same opportunity for any of the foreign workers over there. If you want to make an appointment to talk to me, I'm not charging for this. This doesn't cost you anything. But if you want to talk to somebody, which is me, I'm the somebody, you can send me a request, and you can send it to www.calendly, CALENDLY.com/MLodge, LODGE. M as in Michael, Lodge, LODGE. I'll repeat it again for you. www.calendly.com/M Lodge, LODGE. It's open for you. If you need to talk to somebody, I'm here. I've been through these crises before. I've had to talk to clients, I've had to talk to staff, I've had to talk to all kinds of different people, because talking to someone releases a lot of stress. And I'm a good talker. Sometimes people say, Mike, you talk too much. I am the type of person that will sit down in a restaurant and pretty soon I'll have a new friend sitting next to me because I'm willing to talk to them. And we talk about everything. but it makes him feel good. And I hope that if you feel that you are so far away from home that you have nobody to talk to, I'm here. I'll put it in the notes of my podcast, and you can find it there, and you can link to it, and then I'll schedule a time for you to zoom in on me, and we'll have a nice talk. I limiting it to 30 minutes, and we'll talk. We'll talk it through. So anyway, everybody, go out there and have a great day. This is Mike Lodge. Wash your hands before you talk to me next time. I'll talk with you soon. This is Mike Lodge. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the WBT with Michael Lodge. Join us again tomorrow as we explore more about business and taxes. Follow us on iHeartRadio and go to our podcast website at www.wbtpod.com and listen to all of our podcasts and read our blogs.
This podcast has been produced by Michael Lodge, fully focused on content.